So it has been a month since I have uploaded a video. Group Iron Man came out, and I have actually been playing that over on Twitch with a few friends of mine. It's been quite a good time, but I can't forget about this channel, obviously. So today I have a quick video for you guys about my personal movement and how I do player movement here at Glacor. Now, I'm making a video on this topic specifically because I do see people getting confused in understanding what mechanics are coming next, because there are visual cues in this encounter that tell you not only what special attacks are coming up next, but how to do player movement when dealing with them. Now, when you enter the instance, you'll be on this tile. So what I like to do is I look at the ground decoration here and I use these lines that are kind of running between, and I kind of use it as a makeshift grid system. And so all I'll do is click on this tile here and then hit surge to run to the center. And that'll put me close enough to get onto what I call the origin tile. This is the tile that I stand on unless I am forced away from at all times. Now, a convenient thing about this tile is if you drop a sunshine with magic or death swiftness with range, you can deal with all of the cannon attacks while still being inside of your sunshine or death swiftness. So the cannon attack will either spawn in the center here of the arena, over to the west a little bit, or over to the east a little bit. And the way you can tell when a cannon is coming up and which side it's coming from is you will see on this row right here, this blue one in the center, you will see a spiral. I think it's 3 icicles either shoot out from this side or shoot out from this side, and it will move across the arena. Now, if you see one spawn from over here and there's no spawning over here, that is always a cannon, because only cannon can spawn on this side. If you only see one coming from this side, the ice spikes will stop about on this tile right here, and that will indicate the cannon. If you see it continue on almost all the way to the end, that is a pillar's attack, and I'll talk about that one in just a moment. But all you have to do is, if you see the spikes come over for the cannon and you want to stay inside your sunshine, you can click on this tile and stand along this line, and this is as far as the ice spikes will come over in a cannon attack. And same thing on the other side if you are in line with these tiles. And I also use these little like half pillars, these kind of bridge supports here, also to help indicate where I am, and I will use them also just for more positioning information. So I know that if I am here, I can even go melee distance, which this tile is melee distance for Glacor's hitbox, and I will be fine. The ice spikes that are coming up from the ground will only come up to about here, and you can still sit inside of your ultimate. Now, when it comes to player movement when dealing with minions, there are a few different spawn locations. I think in total there's like either 8 or 10, but if you're standing on this tile when minions spawn, they will always spawn in a relatively nice position, usually in one of the quadrants, whether that be southeast, southwest, northwest, or northeast. Now, if you get the southwest or the southeast spawn, it's close enough to the player to where sometimes the bolstered will play nice and allow them to all be in chin range, and you will never have to move your player. I believe it's more likely on the southeast quadrant, but it doesn't matter too much. If you're using magic, melee, or necromancy, you're just gonna destroy them anyways. This is mostly for people who are using ranged, as chin range is something you have to keep in mind. And usually on the west spawns, they're a bit further away. And for most kills, I just deal with the 4 accordingly, usually with G chain, or if I'm meleeing, I'll just run over and like de-hally them or something, and then kill the bolstered separately. But the main thing here is, if standing on this tile, you will never have the melees coming around. The magic minions will always hold the melee minions back, leaving them in a nice 2x2 square. Now, you still have to deal with these spawns sometimes after a ice pillars, and if you do a consistent movement pattern, the minions will always play nicely. So I'll go ahead and go into my player movement for the pillars. I usually will just kind of run over here and eventually make my way over until I can't really attack anymore, and then I surge all the way over to this corner, and I'll just stay here. And then as the pillar is coming over, the pillar spawn is random. It can spawn anywhere inside this area, but when it gets close enough and I've waited enough time, I'll usually bladed dive to the ice wall, which I believe is about here. And then once Glacor is attackable and all the little ice spikes are gone, you just click over one tile. You can use whatever abilities you want. And when I surge is dependent on where this second pillar spawns. Now you do have a couple of game ticks here to actually wait, because there is a third one that is spawning on top of you. But for the first tick that the pillar is spawnable, or I should say while it's spawning in, it will not do damage to you if you're surging away on that tick. So there is a slight amount of leniency there. And essentially I will run as close to the second pillar that spawns over here as I can before I go ahead and surge over and end up about on this tile. I usually play with pillars in this area, sometimes sitting here. Magic, I believe's max distance is this tile. Range, if you're using a bow, can go a few tiles back. And then what I typically do after that is use my second surge to surge in. You don't have to do the directional walk because you'll be attacking Glacor at this point, and you can either surge in, or if you're using melee on that portion, you can go ahead and just barge in. Now, something to note is if you're always doing this movement, there are 2 minion spawns after pillars that can be kind of annoying because everything gets kind of jumbled up. And sometimes you'll see minions spawn on this southeast part here, and all I do is just run across and then run along like this and stop right next to the minions. I believe it's on this tile is where the mage minions will be in line, and then you can just attack them as normal. All of the melees will be in a relatively good position, allowing you to chin them down, or if you're using magic, G-chain, you know, whatever you happen to be doing. Now, if you're over here and you get this spawn down here, it's hard for me to remember the movement that I did for in rage pushing where this really matters. If I remember correctly, I came to the center or did a similar movement and ran around to the backside anyways, so that way the magic minion would be 1 tile north of my character. I believe it's on this set of 2x2 tiles here where they spawn, and then 1 would be off to my side, 1 might even be around the back, and I would just kind of move around and improv around as needed. It might be in my 4K kill. I'll leave the link to that in the description below. There might be something there for you to go ahead and look at and see some of the player movement that I did there. But if you're over on these tiles and you get the 2 furthest spawns, assuming you have surged in at a reasonable time, the melee minions shouldn't be coming over or going around the magic ones. If you stay too far for too long, the melee minion on the north side can path around the magic and start to come over. But if you're relatively speedy throughout the movement and you kind of figure out how it goes, you should be able to deal with either of these spawns just fine. The big takeaway here is that the more consistent you are with your movement, the more consistent the minion spawns will be. Other than that, I pretty much will just stand on this tile right here. I'll stand here for the arm attack. I'll stand here for the flurry or frenzy or focus or whatever you want to call it. Again, the ice cannon, you can have your ultimate here and you can just go to either side based on where it spawns. Minions, I pretty much never have to move, and the pillars I've already discussed. Now again, if you want an example kill to watch me do player movement in more detail, there is the old 4K kill video that I did, but in general, that is pretty much all I ever do for Glacor movement. One final note when dealing with the pillars that I do think is important is as they're coming over, I will try and stay at my alt as long as possible. However, I also usually try and get as far south as I possibly can to then surge over to this corner. I don't think it's super important, but it's something I've always done is I have moved southwest rather than just straight west and surged over and then went south. I think it helps something with the pathing of the pillar trying to get closer to you because it will move diagonal before it moves over, so it can help in some of the spawns that you do get for this first ice pillar. But again, that's just a final note to add in. Hopefully some of you found this quick little video helpful. I hope your Glacor kills are going well. If you're curious as to why I have a mage melee setup, that is a video coming out in the future. I might be doing a update to my core farming method, which is just my general art Glacor farming method. As I started doing something new new for the first 100 kills in the streak to help speed up the process a bit, and that video will be coming out in the near future. Now, for those of you who are still listening, you are definitely some of the more dedicated fans I have listening to my yapping throughout all of these videos. If you'd like to see just a general overview on what I've been doing on my group Iron Man, let me know in the comments below, and I would go ahead and make a video just showcasing kind of my progress so far, just kind of doing a live update of the account. I've thought about doing kind of fancy edits and things like that and making like a storytelling video, but that's not really my style. I don't really go for that. I kind of just try and keep things relaxed and more approachable, so that way it appeals to as many people as possible, as all I ever do on this channel is showcase my experience and tell you guys what I have figured out so far. So again, if you would like to see a video on the group Iron, kind of just doing an update or a showcase, let me know in the comments below. But anyways, I have yapped on long enough. Thank you very much for watching. Your viewership is greatly appreciated. Have a wonderful morning, evening, afternoon, nighttime, whatever it is, wherever you are, and I'll see you next time for the next video. Peace.